I mean, it says that we're going. Let's take a look. There we go. Yeah, so it should be up. Are you guys still not seeing and hearing? Let me know. All right. Well, we've wasted a few minutes here, so I'm just going to go ahead and pop in and just get this rolling. All right, cool. Sorry about that. I don't know what went on there. That was weird. It said I was live, and then every time I tried to click the link to make sure, it wasn't showing that I was. So very, very interesting. Yeah. So the thing this morning that everybody was waiting on was Jerome Powell was speaking at the Risk Bank Symposium. He did not comment on inflation. He did not comment on the market, which is a good thing. I think he made one comment on that they're not going to be trying to let climate change influence their climate policy influence their monetary policy, and they don't want to, vice versa. So they're trying to stay as neutral as possible. The only thing that tells you is that the government is likely trying to put some pressure on them to, do monetary policy in order to get, what they want, I guess. So, and that's not surprising. Every administration is going to do that. But back to the charts, guys. We have two levels on the chart. And if you're in the group or you've even just been keeping up with these live streams, we've been trying to keep it as simple as possible for you. And one of the things I've been preaching is these two weekly breakers. I started talking about them back here, how these were going to be the key levels. We really started focusing on 16,611 right here. You can see the respect, this inverse head and shoulders-esque pattern, breakout, retest of the level, perfection right here, once and then twice, gave you multiple entries. And now you've come all the way up to 17,174, and now you're just hanging on to it right here. So the levels are doing what the levels do. One thing to note is if we pull our range, you can see that we are up at resistance. So this is the value area high and the TPO value area high of the overall merged range. So we are looking at this as, hey, we're at resistance. Where does this move fail? So like, let's say you're in a long right now. We do need to know where this move might fail. For me, it's down below this most local low here. This is also going to come in at your, I believe they're the weeklies, if I remember correctly. Your weekly pivots come in here. And there is an NPOC here as well. We're on the wrong chart for that, aren't we? That's okay. But you have a weekly NPOC here as well. And so I would be looking at this as a pretty easy spot, to be looking for that if price breaks down below this, turns it into resistance, I would look all the way back down to this like 16,611, maybe into the 2023 open a little bit, which is 16,529, backed up by an Asia NPOC below that. Now, it's well and far away. This 16,950, it coincides with the idea that we're also would be coming back to the point of control of the range in that instance. So am I trading for that currently? No, I am still long. I've got about 70% of that position open. I have hit 3 take profits. You guys can imagine I'm just taking 10% at a time off. One, to cover my fees in case it does come back. And two, just because I think that this is a good opportunity for a good swing long. It already has been technically because we've held the position for more than one day. So it's a swing trade. You can see I have plenty of alerts set for up here. And we'll talk about that zone of price as we get back into the chart over here. So you can see I've got the 2 levels up. Looks very clean on the 4 hour. It's very, very nice. Reclaim of the level to level, bouncing. So what do we want to see? We've got this high right here coming in at about 17,500, 1350. It does coincide very nicely with the local low from the prior range here at 17,500. What is that? 67, something like that. So that would be your Q2 low, and you'd be looking at that in confluence with the gold pocket. And you do have the Q1 pivot up here along with a daily naked point of control, if I do recall. There we go. Yeah, right there. And there's your weekly NPOC we were on about earlier. So for anyone that was wondering, and there's your exchange pivot. So you could really just box this whole area off. And if I get interrupted here, guys, my daughter is home sick today. So I'm a little bit on the distracted side in the group, but it's she seems to be doing better already. She just had 102.7 fever today. When she woke up. So she is home from school enjoying herself. But yeah, so again, this is kind of the region, and you can see why you want to be hanging on to, and we're coming up into resistance potentially. So that's all we're looking at. We're not doing anything too crazy here. We're just looking for the next resistance. So this is the next take profit for me. And if I was looking at this in terms of a higher time frame resistance, I do think that, this little area between 17.5, give or take, just above the local high here and this local high here, into that gold pocket, naked point of control. You've got the quarter one pivot there. This would be the area I'd be looking above the range, right? Because we are above our range at this point. We'll pull up the 40 tick on TradingView just to have it up. You'd be up above the range, which this shows we haven't hit range highs yet. But if you were to go to ATAS, it shows that we are obviously at range highs. And I think it's because ATS, I do think it defaults at 68. So that's why you get a little bit tighter range. And I prefer ATS personally, but you guys can use it. It really doesn't matter that much. I believe it's this one. Yeah. So there's your range on ATAS, right? So when we turn that on and off, I'll just flash it real quick so you guys can see what I'm talking about, and then we'll get rid of it. So as long as we're living above 17,174, in my opinion, things are hunky-dory, so to speak, for lack of a better term, for the move up to the next resistance. And then I am looking at this with a lot of interest because I've been tinkering around. As you guys know, I like to do so. And this is just a timing thing I was looking at. But there is an idea that I brought up in the group. I call it jumping to conclusions. And that is exactly what we were doing in that folder or in that chat, is looking at this like the 2018 bottom and looking for, something along these lines right here. And essentially it would be a move into, again, the resistance we were just looking at. So get rid of the bars pattern now, just to get rid of it. Into that resistance, back down to support, taking the B leg out, looking for that 786 and range low, right? Taking the liquidity that we've built up and then making the move up. And that implies a much longer range. But, again, I don't like fractals, but this is an idea. So even if we reject up here, you have to remember we're still range bound, and if we don't reject, you have to look for the next resistances up above us, right? So, those are things to keep in mind. But for now, the direction is up. There's been zero sign of weakness in this. If we went over to the SPX, so for me, still looking for 17.5 to 17.8. That's the next area I'll be taking profits. So hopefully you guys are able to keep up with that and manage your positions accordingly. Because this is a trading channel after all. That's what we're trying to do, is teach you guys how to trade and how to manage a position. That's the hardest part. It's not that hard to get into a trade. Anyone can find a trade. It's really hard to control the emotions, especially if you're using any leverage. I'm using a very low leverage for me. I usually scalp, because your invalidations, scalp at a higher leverage like 22x. But for swing trades like this with more size, I usually dial it down to like 6, and sometimes even lower than that, down to like 1 or 2. And I would advise you guys to do the same, especially if you're not already profitable. Definitely avoid leverage. So we talked about this, and I put the clip on my Twitter channel, my Twitter here, because we called this weeks ago. We talked about this. I believe this clip is 13 days old. And it's not to toot our own horn, but sometimes you got to give people the proof, right? It's right here. This is the post. And you can see that 13 days ago, we clipped it and we talked about coming box to box into this point of control. And the reason this point of control was so important, and you can see it on the screen here, let me get that over there, is you can see this is your quarterly, your 6-month, your yearly. We could go all the way out to the 24M, right? The 2-year. We could really start dialing this in, and you can just see that this is the point of control for all these time frames. So just from an overall, time basis, this has been a very, very key level for price, and it's backed up by the gold pocket. If I recall right here, you can see you've got gold pocket just above you at 39.82. And if I turned on like our new key levels, right, our pivots for the new year, you would find that a handful of them coming in this region as well. So you can see that you're getting rejected from the 6M1 from 2021 and the 24 2-year pivot. And you're finding support right now in your most recent 6 months average. So all you're doing is going average to average, point of control back to the average from the prior 6 months. You're at resistance from old averages, massive point of control here. So you've got, what did we talk about? We have a range on the SPX, and it could be sideways and nasty for a little while. You've got this range. We need to trade the range until what? It breaks, right? So eventually this is going to break, and you're going to make another attempt up into this region, maybe fulfill that Q3 NPOC. I would just be marking off my local highs here, and then I would even mark this one all the way up here. And I would trade that accordingly. Those are the best trades available to us if we're looking for shorts. If we're not looking for shorts and we're looking for longs, then hopefully you were playing the support that was coming in here, because it was prominent and it did play very, very nicely and gave you a really good move up into this region of the chart, right? So Let's get out of that. One thing we also talked about on this was if you had the annual look, and now we've got a really nice clean chart, which I know you guys all appreciate. This is your 2022 regression. So you can see the trend has been down. No one's shocked to hear that. And then we do have a box down below us and a 2020 NPOC that's still on deck. Those don't have to hit, but they do tend to. So keep that in mind. You break above this box, though, we are starting to get out of the regression. And so then for me, I'm looking at the acceptance to that Q2. So again, remember this box, right? We're going to get rid of that. We break our regression. We're falling channel. You know, I think there's a trend line here, whatever you want to call it. Okay. However you need to get that breaker setting. And then I'm looking to at least come up to here, and I'm looking for failures because this is a pretty big area. If we were just to go to like horizontals, if you remember, the quarter one low on most assets across the board, crypto and in stocks, has been absolutely crucial. I'm looking for roofing contractors right now to redo my roof, and I am just getting phone call after phone call. I made the mistake of filling out one of those forms, so we'll get that ignored real quick here. But yeah, you need to get back above the Q1 low, and let's get rid of our fund folder real quick, and we're going to get rid of this guy as well. And if you guys recall, we had a much larger pattern at play. It was this guy right here. Okay, so this is a bullish reversal pattern on a high time frame. This is your deep crab. And what we'd be looking for is the X pivot and the B pivot. What is it showing us? This is the resistance we need to get back above to reach the old range highs, right? And so what happens if we break out of this? We're going to challenge into that and maybe get above it. And then I'm looking for that overall gold pocket up here above this local high at that point. I believe you have an old yearly pivot there as well. Just something to keep an eye on. And I know that there's some new levels we need to talk about up there, actually. I believe there's a new 12M at the high. No, that might be the only one that's worth noting, but it's so far away that I don't think I'd pay attention to it right now. So I'm going to leave it on, but it's not really worth it. I believe it's the pivot. Yeah, there it is right there. So you have that pivot that's coming in right up there, and you could just box this off and say, this is my next resistance. Should we reach that area? And, you know, that's supported if you were just to come over to here and then start looking at this just from here, maybe even over to C. We'll take a look here in a second. And yeah, there you go. Look at that. So just from X to B, just this median, you know, right before you got the expansion of the range, this is where your value area low is coming in at. If we bring it over a little bit further, go to C, you can see again, resistance there. And if we were just to include the entire pattern, let's see what it gives us. Not too useful other than letting us know that this little zone that we've marked off right here, the quarter one low and that Q3 NPOC and the X pivot and the B pivot of the pattern is very important. It is the entryway back into this range. Now, this is showing you that the POC is all the way up here. We know that that's not true because we have new data. And if we were to include that new data and extend it to the right, our POC shifts down. However, value area high comes down as well. So I prefer in a harmonic setting, you guys know that, I like to go off the pivots, the X to A to the B to C, or just the X to D to get the volume profiles and get the most important areas. And so it's letting me know that I've already identified the key areas on this chart. So if we're looking for a macro bullish move out of traditional markets, we have to get one back above the overall time basis in terms of point of control, right? Our 2-year point of control, our yearly point of control, 6-month, quarterly, et cetera, et cetera. Get back above this level. We can now challenge this area, and all we're doing is marking the highs, looking for either A, swing failure patterns, you know, deviations, whatever it may be. If we don't get that, we know where we're looking to. It is up here in the 4,300 to 4,412 region. You know, however, again, don't sleep on the range you've got in front of you. We just need to be prepared if the move starts to happen, right? If we get that bullish scenario, maybe the Fed comes out early this year and says, hey, we're going to pause rate hikes. We're not going to cut them, but we are going to pause them. I think markets would love that. You know, I really do. I think that is enough to pump the markets because they're really looking for any excuse to pump the markets right now. Now, vice versa, we know that if we break down from this region, we do have a really nice setup right here. Okay, so this is the setup. If you break down, we're looking for that move into the 2020 NPOC, maybe even lower. But I just wanted this to look a little symmetrical, and you can see that this would bring us into that time frame. We've been talking about the middle of February, and look at this. Look at the timing on this. Couldn't be any better. Middle of February, looking for a low or a pivot in the market. And if it happens to be down here, and this is the setup, this is a long setup. This is a very nice long setup. So, you know, keep that in mind. Don't fall in love with the scenario, either one. just trade what's given to you and take the best trade, right? That's all we're trying to do here, is making sure that when this range does resolve, my bias is still to the downside. So I have that plan in a folder by itself. However, need to be prepared if that shifts. That's why I've started hedging long in other assets, because I still hold my shorts from higher up. So if I'm hedging long, it's because I know I'm not going to, basically close my short at the exact bottom. It's more of a protection thing. So if I am forced out of that position, I do also want exposure to the upside. I don't want to be just caught left, oh man, I missed the first like 30% of a move or something, that stinks, but it does happen. So I am trying to kind of like play a little bit of devil's advocate and get both sides of the market right now. And one of those positions is going to win out. And that'll be my position for an extended period of time potentially. But I think that lows are still coming in the market potentially in, later this year. I've said that numerous times. So let's look at the DXY. We have not checked the DXY in quite some time. We had this deviation of the 6M level right here. We talked about this where we said if price comes up above this level, and we had a trend line right here we were working off of. This was our key low at the time. We had this lined out. It did hit. You had a really nice several week long consolidation of support and resistance, and then up you go. And I'm gonna get rid of that fib channel. Up you go, deviate the highs. And we said, if you come back down and you close inside of this, it's a sign of weakness. And we should look for further upside in risk on assets and the DXY to come down lower. So now it's trying to put in yet another low here. And if we zoom out a little bit, we've been looking at this from a harmonic standpoint, but I do want to point out, like on the 12-month, right? We go to the yearly chart on this. This is where that range comes from, right? We're just looking high to low. And then you're just measuring the expansion of this, and that is your target. And you can see I almost got it. I was pretty close. I think I was closer than most people. I'm going to give myself that one. But all you've come back now and done is you're back testing the range, right? So we still have, while we're at, I wouldn't say we're at support, but what I will say is that we're pretty close to support. So I think on something like this, it's important to note that this whole region is pretty important to price, right? This is just a really important area on price. If you get the bounce out of this region, it would just look like a retest of a multi-year breakout. Now, does that mean it's going to all-time highs and it's going to hit 120? I think that is a little too far ahead of ourselves at the moment. I would probably start eyeballing local targets. And the first one would be that 104.775 level that we gave. Another thing that you could do that I like to do is I love drawing these up as channels. You could do this on the yearly if you wanted to. I mean, you could realistically, come in and do something like this. And you can see that you've deviated the channel high. Now we'll go down to like a monthly. You've deviated the channel high and you're coming back down. I don't like this channel as much, but you could do something like that. Whatever helps you kind of rationalize where you're at in the market. For me, I was using a fib channel for this one, right? And so what you'll notice here is I've got 2 points. They're connected at the top. So this high, and then this low. And I've just expanded this out. It's gotten things very, very well. If you get down to the weekly time frame, it looks even cleaner. You can see the respect on the heart line, boom, 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 down to the lows, 0.25, heart line again. And that's where we're at. We're below the heart line at the moment. So does need to get going. That's why that 104.775 level does also matter. And you can see all you've done is close below the heart line here on a weekly time frame, come back down, taking the low. So price does need to put in some kind of a bottom here if it's going to rally. Maybe it dips into this 102.21 level. That's what I'd be looking for. This is support, as we talked about, right? We talked about how the top of this is going to be support just above our old macro range high. So I would be careful as assets like Bitcoin and the SPX, your altcoins, like we could look at Solana. That was one that I was looking at. They're all coming into resistance as the DXY is starting to come into support. There's been a lot of little supports here. This is going to be an important level as well. I'm going to keep that one on. It's just a nice low to have on there. You could even move it to here. I think they're interchangeable if you wanted to. There we go. You can move it up if you wanted to, if you want to be a little more conservative, or you could get rid of it altogether. And you could just say, I'm only interested in 104.775 here, this little low right here. That's up to you. But I do think that this rally, if it's going to continue, it is going to require the DXY to either come down here and not rally immediately and put in a sideways range, or break this support altogether. And if it breaks this support altogether, I think that would be fairly bearish. The only thing I would do is mark out these lows just because, they're there. Like these are the lows just below support. And you can see that, we dipped below that support on the retest before. So, mark those out. But man, if you break down below that, you really don't have any support until you're back down in like the, upper 90s. So it would be quite the move down from where we started. And I think markets would respond accordingly, obviously. And we'd go from there. But things like Solana, this is the hot one. No short entries for me yet. It did front run this box. So this box is at 1765 to 1891, backed up by the quarter one pivot right here. So you can see you've got the negative 618 here, and you've also got the expansions 1414 and the 1618. So I'd be looking at this as resistance for now, up to $18.92. So if I was looking for a short on Solana and I didn't catch the scalp trade, I would just be patient. I think that's the case with a lot of the altcoins right now. Like Polkadot's a big one. That was one that I went in. I'm long QNT. I've got some specific targets for those. Like Polkadot is hitting front ran my alert. That's where my take profit was. So that's really nice. But yeah, this was a box I'd identified for quite some time, was waiting on. And, that was after it went box to box right here for a while. And you can see I didn't get to sell the top of this rally. I did go higher than that. I believe this was actually a quarterly pivot as well. And we'll pull that up. Yeah, this was just your quarterly pivot. I didn't ride it up that high. I just took it to the monthly swing failure pattern. And you can see that you've got a new pivot to work off of above us at the quarter four naked point of control as well. So if you went over to like your quarterlies, right, we're just staying organized. How do we do so? There you go. You've got an MPOC coming in right here. And I actually need to, do I need to move that one down a little bit? Let's see what the 4 hour says. I do need to move that one down. So we're going to move this quarter four MPOC down just a tad, because I like them to front run a little bit. So 528 up to 531 being that resistance. You can also see this is the value area low of the prior session, the quarterly session, right? So you do have resistance basically from, 510 all the way up to, in my opinion, 531, and the edge of this box is 544. It's a really big box. It's almost 10%, but this is a nice move. This is a really nice move. So I feel like we nailed this one. 20%. You can definitely find some gains inside of that with some spot leverage. You don't have to do much. I haven't been looking at the chat, so I'm going to go ahead and scroll over here real quick, make sure I'm not missing anything. Hola, Luis. Hopefully you're doing well. Thanks for tuning in. There's 22 of you in here. I love it. That's my favorite number. So, well, one of my favorite numbers. But so that is Polkadot. That's one I was very interested in. Solana, I'm interested in because I think that there's going to be a good short opportunity. Matic is another one I'm obviously in. I'm in Matic. Now, I'm not like adding to my position aggressively on Matic, mainly because when you look at this from a higher time frame, like a macro perspective, like absolutely crushed this chart. Love it. This is one where, when we do the year in review, what we got right and wrong, this one's going to be something we absolutely nailed. So I'm pretty happy with this one. The daily demand too got absolutely crushed down here. We basically just marked off this range as the destination point. So fairly large window, anywhere from like about 46 cents all the way down here to like, 30 cents. And you can see that this did come down and fulfill that box. Came in a little bit lower, I believe even, 31 cents. So got great fills, managed to sell on the fund folder. You guys know that we were looking for Matic to come up. And if you get in to this, you've got a perfect one-to-one, right? You can see there's your AB equals CD. You've got plenty of Fibonacci convergence, the logs, or the linear scale 382 to the dollar, an old SFP to the cent, right here. Boom. You can see all the resistance coming in there. So this was a great place to take some profits. I was open about it. I didn't sell all my Matic. I did take a good chunk though, because, with my average being in the mid 30 cent range, why wouldn't you take that like 3-4x and do something, else with the capital. So if Matic returns down to these lows, so these like 40, I would say 50 cent down to like 30, 40 cent region, I'll probably add some back in. And you can see why if you break through this level right here, and we'll get out of log scale or into log scale, because I prefer this in log, because this is how I've been viewing this token since October as a whole. Is this a confirmed high yet? That's what we've been talking about. Is this a confirmed high? And it's not. And the reason it's so important, and this is, old news to anyone in the group, I imagine that's probably everyone in here. You've got your all-time high. You've now made a low, right? And you're making potentially a lower high. But This is not a confirmed high yet. If you break this box, yes, you've made a confirmed high, in my opinion, and I'd be looking down to challenge into this old low, right? And that's where you want to be adding again and following the trend, because you can see the trend is trying to do what the rest of the market is doing. But Matic is kind of, I don't know what the best term for it to be is. It's showing relative strength against the trend, I guess. Now that this isn't a big drawdown, but this is a really great reaction. And other tokens that had massive drawdowns did the same thing. QNT was a good one. Matic, and I don't really know that there's too many others off the top of my head. But yeah, well, somebody ruined it. Now there's 23 in here. But yeah, so that's all you're looking to do. And this is a pretty important area. The reason I have this boxed off is, again, if we start going through our time-based ranges and looking at things from time-based perspective, let's get rid of the box for just a second. I believe it's yeah, there we go. So that box was right here. There's your point of control from the prior month, right? You can also go to like the quarterly. I believe that's going to be there. Now the quarterly did shift down. That's right. Let's go to the 4-hour just to have it there. This was the old quarterly POC, and you can see that you're really splitting hairs here. And you can go to like your annual, and you can start seeing that, okay, this little box is basically these major points of control volume profile wise. And when you look at this volume profile, this is a giant lowercase b, and you can see that it was really expanding heavily to the downside. So this is a pretty big area on the chart for it to reclaim and live above. And I think if you do live above that, you challenge back into, the dollar plus region, maybe as high as $1.22 again, up here at the yearly pivot, right into this box that we had boxed off previously. And that's also the top of our channel, right? Our overall channel. It's a little easier to see on a higher time frame, but we're doing other things right now. So with Matic, I'm really, if I was trading this one, I would just be trading the boxes, right? Box to box, from this box to this box. If it gets above this box, I'm gonna hold it till I get to here. I'm gonna take some more profits, maybe hold out for the, the highs of the range again. And then, if you're a long-term hodler, and you're not trying to do any trading, well, you have to ask yourself where the value is. Is this a value enough for you? It might be, and so you might say 75 cents because I believe Matic's going to, some whatever valuation you have is a good value and you might buy there. For me, I'm going to hold off on that. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait till these lower levels, if they are seen again, which, we have nothing to say that they won't be right now. So, the thesis is I should be patient, right? So at least that's how I'm doing it. You guys need to do what's best for you. But yeah, it's a very simple, very clean chart. Easy to kind of digest, in my opinion. So I don't really know that I have. Thanks, Magic. First time watching. Follow you. Well, thanks for tuning in. I love it. Appreciate that. I'm pretty sure my daughter's in here somewhere. She's upstairs on her iPad, and she said she was going to watch me do the live stream. Made me put Leading Crypto into her subscriptions channel, so she might be in here. But yeah, so I don't know that I have too many other altcoins that I follow, because Algo is one I'm in. I am in Algo, so I'm only showing you guys the coins that I'm currently accumulating or trading. This was a box, and I've posted it on Twitter, and it's kind of a clout chasing thing. But the last time I made a post about it in the group was in June. I was looking for this box, and I was like being extra patient, and we finally came down. We started filling in the bid zone. So this has been the area, and you can see how this chart progressed over time. I haven't updated this chart almost at all, which is, on me. I need to do a better job of that. But you can see we had support here. There was some trend-based support as well off the Fibonacci, if I recall. A nice quarterly level, back into old quarterly levels, back testing the trend line, right? I know we don't do a lot of trend line work here, but sometimes we do. And it just sells off into this support, which it did front run. And a lot of times when you front run these supports, guys, it's not a good sign. You usually get the bounce early and you're like, fuck, I missed it. Well, here's the thing. You end up buying back in here thinking the move's underway, and then it does this to you. So that's why you always just set your alerts on your levels or right before them. You don't, if you're buying a large spot position, to me, I just don't see the point in getting too into it like I would on Bitcoin, where it's like, if I front run my level on Bitcoin, I'd go to the order flow and be like, is there a reason to be long here or short, right? But on something like this, it's just all about patience and knowing where the market's at. And you got to remember, this is in April of last year. So when it front ran that 50 cent level, I was like, do I think we have more downside? Absolutely. I thought we did. So, because we were still trading above 39K at that point, I thought there would be more downside still. So it was just a matter of patience. And then June, the dump starts happening. You're into the zone here. And you can see even the EQ of this channel is pretty well respected. Um, it's an old global profile. So you're looking down into support, and where you want to see this get to now is up into this region of like 30 cents. That would be dope, even in the EQ of this channel. So first really important level is coming in at 21.68 cents. I would want to have eyes on that channel. And yeah, you could also see 26. And these are just very generic targets, guys. These are just averages from prior sessions. Man, 72 cents is yearly. That's way up there. Wow. That'd be quite the move. So we'll see what happens. But, this was, to me, was a good value, and it's gotten a good bounce. So this is where I was planning to accumulate some of this token. You guys know I don't do a lot in the shitcoin sector. Don't get offended that I called it that. Everything is a shitcoin, in my opinion. None of these projects are vetted in the sense that we don't know if they're going to be here or not. So it is gambling money. So very small percentages of my portfolio are actually allocated to these types of assets. But I do want some exposure because they offer such great upside, even though they do have a risk of maybe not being here. So you have to take that into consideration. You can't be all in, on something as speculative as some of these cryptocurrencies. So you have to kind of hedge against that risk. And I think they touched on that on Sin City yesterday, which I thought was really great. Yeah, we went over Bitcoin at the beginning. Yeah, I would just go back to the beginning of it. Very simple Bitcoin analysis. Definitely not looking to be long right here in the sense that not looking for fresh longs. If you're already long, go over the invalidations for those, like what level, if lost, I would get out of those longs altogether. But for right now, I think everything's fine as long as price is holding where it is. So don't know that I have too much else to go over. We've been live for about 30 minutes. It's already about twice as long as I was planning to be live, but I don't think trying to think what else I would want to cover. I don't think that there's anything else in here. I don't have any, I haven't been updating my, altcoin charts like I should. CVO does such a good job of that on his channel that I just kind of knew which ones I wanted to get involved in, and I did so. And so those are kind of the ones that I've shown you guys. And so far Adam is a good one. I don't know how I missed that one. Adam did me dirty. So Matt was in the group as well. He had the same Gartley mapped out. And now technically, we got a log here. Technically, you hit the 0.75, which is your first Fibonacci completion. If I was marking out a Gartley, I would mark the 0.75, the 0.786, and only the 0.886 if you had a 1618 expansion confluence, which you did in this instance. And we were looking for the low of the profile, right? We were looking to get that value area low, but unfortunately it front ran it. Also front ran this quarterly level. So kind of did me dirty in a sense, and it's come all the way back up to its first target already. And this one hit early. This was one of the early ones before everything else was taking off. Adam went ahead and has pumped 35%. So I've had some really great Adam trades already last year. So I'm not too upset about it. But Adam is one I'd be looking at. If you clear $11, 20.2 cents, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't go to the gold pocket here from just your C to D leg, right? So that's just high to low right here. You can see C to D. You can see the numbers on the side here. I'd be looking up to that gold pocket at $12.99 and $13.23 at the value area high of the structure. And if we were just to not extend it to the right and we only included the harmonic, which you guys know is something we should always consider. This is more of hey, we broke down below 1645, and this has been our zone since, right? So that's where this range comes from. That's all this is. It's just an accumulation range, basically, of what's going on price-wise. So the value area high comes in up here. I am curious to see what it looks like with just the harmonic, though, and see what's going on here inside of this price action. Yeah, it would also support an idea of a move higher still, and you're well above the point of control of that. And if we were to extend it over and take a look at the rest of it, yep, still above the POC. Value area high is here. Yeah, I still think that this probably has legs to like $13 unless Bitcoin rolls over. So I think this one's still going to make a move up. This would be my first take profit if I was someone that did long this box or got in anywhere here. I think this is an important area to at least lock in enough gains to pay for your fees if you get stopped out if you're trading it. If you're just buying this because you think this is the bottom of the crypto market, well, I wish you nothing but the best. That's all I will say about that. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen, and that could very well be the bottom. And this has been a great asset. I think it's going to be a good ecosystem to hold into the future. So, you know, I think the next target is up here, though. So that's all I'll say about Atom. And I think I'm done, guys. I think that's what I'm going to cover for today. If you appreciated this, the only way that I know is that you guys hit the like, you leave comments on the videos, you share them with your friends, right? That's all I ask. Otherwise, if you guys are interested in the group, there is a link to leadingcrypto.io down below. I believe there's also a Discord link. And we'll be live again tomorrow and catch you guys there. Cheers.